A lot of people in Sub-Saharan Africa get their first exposure to financial services through mobile wallets. Having a method to bridge that gap where you never had a card before, but you've always had a mobile wallet, and now there's a way for you to participate in e-commerce transactions through that channel is a really, really good thing.
Welcome to the Issuer Academy, Paymentology's podcast to innovate, scale, and provide impact. I'm your host, Mirusha Naidu. If you're a fintech professional, banking leader, or an innovator in the digital payment space, you're in the right place. Here, we deep dive into the challenges and triumphs of launching next-generation card programs, from virtual cards and digital wallets to cross-border FX solutions. Let's get started.
Thanks, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast. Today, we are in Kenya, and what we want to try to do today is to delve deeper into the mobile money space with a special focus on the integration of companion cards and the impact that it has had so far in their country, as well as looking outside from Kenya and into the other spaces, including East Africa. So today, we want to look at how cloud adoption can drive popularity and how this actually is being implemented. And joining us today are two experts. Have Naima from Safaricom, from M-Pesa Africa. And I have Alfred, right, from AWS. And they will be offering or giving us their valuable insights into this particular trend. So to set the scene, let me start by defining what companion cards and what prepaid cards are, so that our audience is able to differentiate the two. So companion cards are essentially debit cards that are linked to a primary source of funds. Could be a wallet, could be a bank account, and prepaid cards are cards that are loaded for you to be able to use them. So the main difference essentially is when you have a companion card, the authorization for the transaction is done by the primary source of funds holder, where the funds sit. And for the prepaid card, it could be done by whoever is holding the ledger. So our discussion today aims to dissect the early learnings and emerging trends drawn from those who have seamlessly integrated companion cards with their mobile money services. So I will let my panelists here introduce themselves, and let me start with you, Naima. Just a brief introduction, something about you that's interesting, so that our viewers, our listeners can also be wowed. And then Alfred, you'll take the spot. Then I'll get into the question. So Naima, please.
That's you throwing me under the bus. Thanks, Julius. That was not a cue anyway, or it wasn't in the script that I was given, just to put it out there. Thank you for having us and inviting us for this crucial session. My name is Naima Yusuf. I lead the team in M-Pesa Africa as executive head for global payments. And key focus is cross-border payments in terms of remittance. So that's what I've been doing for the last 7 years. I've been in product management and just did an array of products from local business to lending and global payments. Good
Very
to be
impressive.
here.
Impressive. Alfred?
Thanks for having me. Alfred Mkudu. So I lead our go-to-market strategy and business development for financial services for AWS. It's a bit of a mouthful. And what that entails is across Sub-Saharan Africa, I help financial services customers to make their journey to the cloud a little bit easier. That takes about 80% of my time. Then the other 20%, I spend it trying to look around the corner at what's coming down for the industry. So trying to remove industry challenges that are slowing people's adoption in the cloud.
Okay. Very impressive. And so I'll just dive right into it. And Naima, I will come to you first. Sorry, you're always thrown under the bus. At least the bus is not moving. Can you elaborate on the concept of companion cards within the mobile money ecosystem? And how do they differ from traditional debit or prepaid cards?
Okay. Thanks, Julius. I think I didn't mention anything interesting about me. So maybe reverse. Since you put us on the spot, I think for me, I'm like a sports junkie. So I try and do old sports, currently into kickboxing. So I think that's something interesting about me, away from work.
Kickboxing.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, interesting. So I think for me, companion cards, and it's a very good thing that you started with the definition, because there are two types of companion cards. There is the one that we have for disability, but our key focus here is the one that you're linking your wallet to your mobile payment wallet, or your card to your mobile payment wallet. And the key differentiator is it's actually mirroring your wallet. So it's a mirror and it's not a card. So you can call it a virtual card, but then it doesn't store value. So the value will still be in your wallet, and the transactions are going to be done from your primary wallet. So I think that is the key differentiator in terms of looking at why it has grown from an African perspective, is because historically, banks have been a niche to a few people. And when mobile wallet came to Africa, then it was solving a specific need, which is inclusion and money or product for all. And so therefore, if you look at in terms of what then mobile wallets have done, is just opened up that payment space, especially from a financial inclusion perspective. And therefore, when you build anything in Africa, and I think it's anything away from even virtual card, is you have to consider the fact that we do have that mobile wallet entity, and see how then we can work around that ecosystem.
Okay, spot on. And I think just to echo your comments, mobile money pretty much solved the problem for the underbanked and unbanked and all the other people. And it has been very, from M-Pesa's story, it's been very important and very instrumental in promoting financial inclusion in Kenya. So Alfred, I'll come to you next. Just to build on what Naima said here, on your perspective, to talk about how cloud is driving the adoption of companion cards. And in more general, on the digital financial services in Africa, specifically from AWS perspective.
Sure. I think, look, if I think about what you just described around what a companion card is, right? When you look at it from a customer's perspective, a lot of people in Sub-Saharan Africa, or Africa more broadly, get their first exposure to financial services through mobile wallets. And so having a method or a tool to be able to bridge that gap, where you've never had a card before, but you've always had a mobile wallet, and now there's a way for you to participate in e-commerce transactions or whatever the case is through that channel, is a really, really good thing. So from a cloud perspective, what that means is at AWS, we focus on building blocks, right? So we provide the services that builders and fintechs can use. So we worry about the security that you're going to need. If you think about the companion card being the one that initiates a transaction, but the value is being settled somewhere else, you need to have that relationship governed in a secure way. You also then need to have that infrastructure underneath be able to scale. So the cloud is very, very good at that. So it almost democratizes the access by allowing people to make low value payments through methods that they're used to. And the cloud is just enabling you to do that by giving you the scalability and the access. And hopefully from a cost perspective as well, it makes it easier to provide those services to customers.
Spot on. And I think from your perspective, it's therefore imperative to maybe future look and say that most of the services are now going to move to cloud from what you just said, right? Okay, so Emma, as Alfred just mentioned, so I want you to kind of talk about other factors that you think in your own perspective have contributed to the surge in adoption of companion cards that are linked to mobile money wallets. And please don't mention people having their phones all the time.
That's a good thing, because I was going to mention about mobile phone penetration. I think if you look at it that way, then you see from a sub-Saharan perspective, we have 690 million smartphone owners. And if we're looking at companion cards, then we're looking at people who own smart cards or smartphones. And just because this is one of the key things that cannot go on USSD, which Africa is well known for. Yeah. So I think the thing in terms of why it's scaling is because we are opening it up to e-commerce, and people want access to purchase things, to be able to subscribe to content. And one of the key things we've seen away from e-commerce is social content is becoming extremely big. So how do we then cater for that? For us, probably at M-Pesa, it was seeing, first of all, what we do is always done around our purpose, which is transforming lives. And so when we innovate, we look at what problems are we trying to really solve, and then which technology do we have to ensure that that problem is solved. So one of the key things that we had a problem with, especially from an East African continent perspective, is accessibility to international markets. And the only way you can have accessibility was through your debit card or your credit card. And because everyone did have a mobile wallet, pairing that to your mobile wallet and having a seamless transaction go through e-commerce was able to open up accessibility to global markets. Take, for example, AliExpress, Amazon, and all the other e-commerce sites that we have. So accessibility is one of the key things that is really important in terms of ensuring that your customers are able to open up to new use cases. So for us, looking at delivering value for our customers, ensuring, I love the word Alfred used, democratize, is how do you open up that particular space so that it's not only a niche of people, but everyone. And I know we can speak about financial inclusion, but really it's just accessibility to global markets.
Yeah, absolutely. Spot on. And you know what? I was doing research on this, and I realized that if you narrow down the problem that's facing Africa on financial inclusion, you just get two factors. It's either awareness or access. If you can solve one, the other one becomes a subset. And now to you, Alfred, what are some...
Coincidentally, Amazon.co has already launched today, so hopefully you can use your companion card to...
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's a good development, to be honest. And I'm also aware that you have an office here in Kenya, right? Yeah. Okay. So back to my questions, so that you don't escape them. I'm still gonna hound them on you. What are some of the compelling use cases that are driving the need for more digital financial services in today's economy, and how can cloud turn this into a reality?
So I think there's a lot of investment, I think, in terms of use cases around improving how people interact with technology. So being a sort of a payments forum, I'll try to keep it in the payment space. But if you think about a lot of the use cases we're seeing around people wanting more frictionless payments, but also more secure payments, it's driving a lot more use cases around how people interact with their technology. So everything from virtualization of payments, your companion cards, different payment methods, supporting remittances and cross-border transactions. Those are all sort of momentous shifts that are driving people to start thinking about what kind of technologies can we build to be able to service those. And then on the security side of it, we're seeing quite a lot of use cases around better fraud monitoring, as well as allowing people to be more in control of whether it's a card or whatever payment method they've got on their devices. If there's some sort of attempt at fraud, you want to be able to get the notifications quickly, block them, order a new card if you need to, or issue a new one instantly, and then move on with your life. So there's a lot of those sort of large macro type trends that are driving use cases that people want to build on the cloud. All the cloud is doing is it's compressing the time it takes to experiment and figure out which solution makes sense for people. So we've seen many times where people will try and transplant a solution from one market or one country into another. doesn't quite stick for a number of reasons. So all the cloud is doing is giving you access to lots of services, lots of capabilities to experiment cheaply, and then see which flavor of those use cases will make sense for your local context.
Yeah. And maybe let me just add on to what Alfred has said, and not from probably a cloud perspective, but just what the companion card and how versatile it can be. And we've seen it work, especially from a secure perspective, just to borrow what Alfred has said from security perspective. We've seen we can be able to customize the companion card to the market and the needs of the market. So for example, a prepaid card or a debit card or a credit card, it's physical. So even if it's virtual, there's a specific way that it has been made to work. But then the companion card, you can actually tweak things. And I love because he's pointed out on AWS, which is technology, because then you can rely on different APIs you can use. So for example, with the Safaricom M-Pesa virtual card, the CVV is very dynamic. So it's 30 minutes, I think, CVV, and it keeps changing. And so it's not your standard card where you have to put, or if somebody gets access to it, then you actually have an issue when it comes to security, where you have to stop or send your bank, call your bank, send an email. But this one is you have access on the go and readily available for you as a customer. So you lose your card or you put it in somewhere that you're not supposed to have done, you can easily suspend. So we've moved from you being able to reaching out to get that support to it being in your control, in your hands. And therefore, then you take accountability of how then you use your companion card.
Spot on. And I think that essentially gives the customer more power over their spend habits.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And even if you think about, like, as you go into giving access to whether it's more vulnerable people in society or people who are new to these types of services, right, who might not know to check for fraud, you can start to do clever things like programming the card. So let's say you want to stop your kids from buying from a specific vendor or from sites that you don't agree with. You can build those kinds of sort of rules and limitations into it as a way to have an additional layer of safety beyond just protecting the transaction. So it's super exciting. There's lots of potential there, and you can kind of let your imagination run wild, I think.
Very interesting. And so I think as we move ahead, it's very important for us to also note that companion cards linked to mobile wallets has actually solved a lot of issues that we used to have, especially in the Kenyan market, right? And maybe, Neema, you can testify to this, that there has been an upsurge of usage of companion cards as opposed to the traditional cards that banks issue in the market.
Yeah, no, so I was just saying, like, I think to my earlier statement, it's all about accessibility and it being available to anyone who has access to mobile and mobile wallet. And also equally, I think for anything is you have to always look at what are you trying to solve for. For the longest, M-Pesa has always been about inclusion, transforming lives, accessibility, awareness. And so therefore, some of these things you have to look at, yes, the card has been there for a while, but then how do you transform it to reach your customer or make it have your customer niche from proposition perspective? So I think for us, the reason why it worked so well is accessibility, cost effectiveness. We did ensure that we're getting into the market with a very cost-friendly proposition, and the percentage is at 3.5% on FX. And so therefore, that also ensures that we are inclusive. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Neema. Alfred, how could then cloud adoption support the democratization of payments and financial inclusion? You had brought up the topic of democratization. So please tell us how that will support, cloud adoption will support that.
Yeah, I mean, earlier I spoke about cost, right? If we can find ways to make it quicker and cheaper to run experiments and offer services and products to people, then we can pass on those savings to other people. So from that perspective, you can kind of provide better products at better price points for more people. From a pure just physical access, right? I think earlier today I spoke about how you can start to look at how things like edge computing and cloud infrastructure that's closer to people at source can increase access to those services, right? So cloud, I think, is really looking at enabling the builders, but also from an access perspective, allowing people to have more options in ways they access these services.
Okay, that's very interesting. So now let's look into the future there, because we're already here. So what does the future look like? So Naima, from your perspective, how do you envision companion cards evolving, particularly in terms of cross-border functionalities and their integration with travel and e-commerce? Because we still expect a lot of that to happen. So what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think there's a saying that goes that you can forget everything, but not your mobile. And which is interesting. So yeah, you forget your mobile, it's literally you've lost an arm or something like that. So in terms of and one thing that I like about the podcast is you're our partners when it comes to tokenization. So when we look at how then customers can be able to secure their payment and ensure that they can use it for cross-border payments, we're looking at how then do we evolve our card to become a traveler card. So this is something I think even our M-Pesa Africa CEO has spoken about deeply and passionately, and even our Safaricom CEO, Peter, would like to see is how can our customers just walk around with their mobile phones. That's it. You don't need anything else. So for us, it is key to ensure that we can be able to have an interoperable cross-border proposition, or so that it can make it easier. And I love the way Alfred used frictionless. And one of the key things that I'll add is borderless. So you travel from, and especially within Africa, I don't think anything stops us. Travel from Kenya to Zimbabwe, you can be able to do cross-border payments exactly the way you were doing in Kenya. Travel to the UK, I know there's an example that keeps being thrown my way is I want to pay the sub through the mobile phone from an M-Pesa perspective. So I just want to tap and get in. Yeah, so those are some of the things that we're looking at, is how more we can enable our customers be able to do global, have the global experience from an interaction perspective just by their mobile phone, and ensuring that equally cost is maintained at a minimum.
Okay. And just to conclude, so I'll give you, Alfred, 30 seconds. Just give a closing remark, just an anecdote, and then Naima, you can take the 30 seconds. And I think we should be wrapping up now. So, Alfred, please.
Cool. Look, I think I'll use my 30 seconds to say I'm actually super grateful to have had this podcast, but more grateful in seeing the sort of green shoots we're seeing across the continent, where, partners like Paymentology, customers like Safaricom are pushing the boundaries and solving massive societal challenges like banking the underbanked, right? So I think it's super exciting, and I feel really grateful actually to be alive and part of this kind of movement, and I look forward to what you guys do next.
Okay. Naima?
Thank you. Yeah, I think I'd echo his sentiments. But one of the key things that I'll say, and I know Jeff, the CEO of Paymentology, said, payments is all about trust. And for payments to work, it must be fast, reliable, but it must also have the customer centricism that it needs to have. And for us in Africa, we need to build with Africa in mind, and not just remove technology from wherever it is and coming and fixing it for us. We must solve our own issues. And therefore, the Africanism in it has to come out from a user experience perspective. And then lastly, for me, it must be secure. For anything that is not secure, then there's nothing you're actually solving for.
Absolutely. Payments all about trust, and it has to be secure. That concludes today's episode. And thank you, guests, Alfred from AWS and Naima from M-Pesa Africa, for sharing your valuable insights. And thank you to our listeners for tuning in. Join us next time as we dive deeper into the trends of payments.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Sure.
That wraps up today's episode of the Issuer Academy, Paymentology's podcast to innovate, scale, and provide impact. I hope you're leaving with fresh insights and actionable strategies to help you revolutionize your card programs and drive true impact in the world. If you've enjoyed today's conversation, please leave a review to help us reach more pioneers like you. Also, be sure to subscribe and follow us for more inspiring episodes and behind-the-scenes content from Paymentology. Until next time, I'm Mirusha Naidu. Keep innovating, keep scaling, and keep striving to make an impact.